I've avoided doing cruise ships because here in a comedy club, you can say whatever you want to say, but on a cruise ship, if you offend anybody, you get helicoptered to fuck off the ship. That's what happens. So my act is a New York act. I'm a Jewish comedian married to a black woman with a PhD who looks like an Indian. We live in an Italian neighborhood in Brooklyn. Everybody thinks I'm Puerto Rican, except Puerto Ricans think I'm a cop. You know, someone's gonna get offended, right? So naturally, I've been avoiding cruise ships, right? So, but you know, you gotta diversify, you gotta try. So I'm like, I'm gonna try it, right? So the process was, they fly into Miami, and there's a showcase in a theater, and it's packed with people, and interspersed in that crowd are the cruise ship directors, right? And they choose the entertainment directors. They choose, right? And the guy who put it together is selling me hard on this thing. He's like, the crowd is hot. The crowd, they're gonna love you. The crowd is hot, the crowd is fire. Well, I get there, he's totally misrepresented. It's 500 old Jews complaining. You know, it's hot, where's the fire exit? You know, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be hard. He takes one look at me, he's like, you didn't wear a blazer? I'm like, oh, this is gonna be horrible, right? This is gonna be horrible. So I'm the only comedian on the showcase. It's myself, there's a flamenco dancer, there's a boy band, there's a piano player, and there's one of those statues of liberty people that just, you know, the Statue of Liberty that stands for 20 minutes, they look, okay. I don't know, you don't understand it, I don't know how to explain it, but you've seen it. You know, it's just one of those questionable occupations. So one by one, these guys go out, and this crowd is belligerent. Like, the crowd can't stand any of them. You know, the flamenco dancer goes out, somebody shouts out, speak up. You know, Statue of Liberty, do something. The boy band, you got holes in your dungarees. It's just nonstop. Finally, the piano player goes out, sings songs in Yiddish, fucking annihilates this crowd. It's the whole place. It's like, yidle, deedle, diddle, yidle, deedle, diddle. You know, yarmulkes flying, matzah bits. You know, some lady stands up, I got a daughter in Queens, single, call me after the show. So I gotta follow this guy. It's like following Springsteen in Jersey. This guy fucking annihilated, right? So the booker guy comes up, he's like, do you have any material about, get ready, sensitive corner, do you have any material about being Jewish? Because that's all they respond to. So I'm like, you know, I got one joke I do in the clubs. He's like, what's that? I'm like, I'm Jewish, I got a German Shepherd, that's a bad combination, you know, because he's always looking at me like he's thinking about the good old days, you know. He doesn't bark, he just stands by the door and people walk by. Where are your papers? Show me your papers. Say something in order, was the Schloss? Yeah. I take him for a walk, he pees on everything. What are you doing? Silence. I marks this territory for the Fatherland, now we go raus. We never got him fixed, so he humps everything in the house, including my wife's leg, which is worse because he always looks at me while he's doing it like, there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. Where is your Messiah now? Anyway. Funny fucking joke. I don't care what anybody says. It's a funny joke. Anti-Semitic talking dog, hilarious. And the guy's like, no. He's like, there's survivors in the audience. I'm like, okay, so maybe not tonight, right? So I don't do the joke. I do something else. I get one cruise ship out of it. One cruise ship. I won't say the name of the line, but it's the budget cruise line. We'll call it Circus Cruises, right? You know, it's basically, you know what I'm talking, it's like a floating fucking Denny's is what it is. So I'm not looking forward to it. It's 8 days on this ship, right? And my nautical experience has pretty much been like on snorkeling for an hour a couple times. So I'm nervous, right? I'm like, I don't want to get seasick. What am I going to do? So I look online, they're like, eat green apples. So I'm pounding green apples, just eating green apples. But you're supposed to do it when you get on the boat, not before. So the day I leave, I get crazy explosive diarrhea. I'm just blowing out everything, right? Get to the George Bush Airport in Texas, because we're going from Texas to Mexico. That's the crew. I don't know if you've been to the George Bush Airport, but it's a giant statue of George Bush running to save the world with a blazer over his shoulder. It's hilarious. I'm not getting political. I lean a little to the left, but that's scoliosis. So, so it's all people from Texas going on this ship, right? All people from Texas. So it's very large people, you know, that eat everything, you know, and they're on the scooters. Everybody's on a scooter. They choose to be on the, you know, goddamn, you know, where's the buffet? So everybody got a sweatsuit, never did a sit-up. So the thing about Circus Cruises is that's different than any other cruise ship. Other cruise ships, as a performer, you get a cabin with the passengers. Circus Cruise, because it's a budget-ass ship, you bunk with the crew. So, you know, I go in one door, and you immediately got to fill out this form as a performer. Have you had diarrhea in the past month? So I got to lie. Now I got secret diarrhea. You know, you can't talk about it. And I get in, I get to my cabin, I'm 6'4", my head touches the ceiling. You know, you want to take a shit, you got to put one leg in the shower, it's horrible. And they have this speaker in the cabin, and I don't know if you've been on cruise ships, but there's always an Italian captain, you know, from Italy. And they just make these innocuous announcements to kind of calm everybody down. Don't make any sense. You know, this is constantly out of the speaker. Welcome to the ship. This is the captain speaking. Nice. Look, this side water is blue. Nice. You know, look, this side more blue water, fish, green, algae. I'm like, this guy's high, right? So I go out of the cabin. I'm walking around. The first person I see is the piano player. Who was out in the showcase with me. And I thought I was neurotic. This guy's on a whole different level. Like, you know, he's sitting there like, I'm like, what's going on, buddy? He's like, they put a ping pong table by my piano. Every time I want to play my piano, someone's playing ping pong. I'm an artist. How am I gonna function like this? I can't handle it. I'm like, dude, he's like, let's go grab some breakfast. I'm like, yeah, we'll grab another time. It's like bad juju. I'll catch you later. So I kind of walk off and I'm like, I'll just deal with this guy later. I'm already stressed out. This guy stressed me. So first night I do my show. It's all people from Texas and it goes horribly wrong. You know, I go out there, strategic error. I say, hey, I'm from New York. Immediately someone shouts out, pussy, you know, and I'm not allowed to respond. That's the other thing. You can't respond. I can't be like, hey, you know, I'll kick over your meth lab and punch your grandma on the remaining tooth or some shit I would normally say, you know? So every night I'm bombing on the ship, and every day I see the piano player, and he's looking worse and worse, right? And he keeps trying to get together. I'm like, dude, we'll grab breakfast. So I think it's about the 6th day. I wake up, there's a note under the door. I look at the note, it says, meet me for breakfast. I got something to tell you. Sign the piano player. So I'm like, all right. So I go to meet him. He doesn't show up, and I'm sitting there. I look out of one of the portholes, and I see a helicopter take off, right? So I'm like, what's that about? So I asked one of the Filipino guys on the cruise, all Filipino and Indian. So I asked one of the Filipino guys, I'm like, anybody seen the piano player? And they're like, yeah, the piano player. You know what happened was every day the passengers are complaining because the ping pong paddles are missing. They want to go play ping pong, the paddles are missing. So we got to go to the stockroom, get more paddles. They come back, the ping pong paddles are gone again. Come back. Finally, 5-6 days, we're out of paddles. We look on the security camera, we see in the middle of the night, the piano player come out, take the paddles and throw them overboard. So we got the fucking helicopter, right? So now I'm alone on this ship. I don't have any friends or whatever. I wake up and it's the strangest thing to this announcement, and it's the captain, right? And the captain, he's like, good morning, everybody. Nice. Looking for this lady, Sandra Johnson. Sandra Johnson, please come to the front of the ship. We have to talk some things with you. Coming to the front of the ship. Nice. I go back to sleep. 10 minutes later, make announcement for the Sandra Johnson. Anybody see Sandra? Tell Sandra, come to the front of the ship. We just talk. It's good for the ship. Look, water is blue. 10 minutes later, he gets back on. Now he's getting pissed, but he's trying to play it off. He's like, look, Sandra Johnson, you're not in trouble. I just want to talk with you a minute, okay? We know you're on the ship. We're going to find you, so come to the front of the ship, okay? 50 minutes later, he gets back on. He's like, okay, Sandra Johnson, you don't want coming? You don't want to come to it? We're going to find you now. Everybody, go back to the cabin. Stay in the cabin till we find the Sandra Johnson. So 4,000 people got to go back to their cabins. We get basically locked in our cabins because this lady has disappeared. So we're waiting. You know, they search our cabins. Yeah, I got to get out of my cabin so someone can get in to look at it. That's how small it is. And about 4 hours later, it turns out this lady has fallen off the ship. And I only know that because I hear two of the crew members. One's like, yeah, the lady fell off the ship. Another guy's like, oh, not again, and walks off. So right then the captain comes back on. I was like, okay, so we're not going to find Sandra Johnson. But tonight we have comedy shows. So I'm like, oh, no. It's like the worst circumstances you could do comedy in. So that night I go to the showroom, and the mood is fucked up. I mean, I gotta pass the yellow tape where the lady fell off the ship. You know, it's just horrible. There's a woman walking around with a Bible like, this is the voyage of the damned. You know, I mean, that's the vibe. I get to the showroom, the cruise director is like, do not mention anything about the lady that fell off the ship. I'm like, listen, I'm a comedian. It's my job. That's what everybody's thinking about all day. We've been hearing these announcements and whatever. Do not mention anything about the lady fell off the ship. I'm like, okay, fine. So I just go up And I do the captain for like a half hour. I'm like, hey, everybody. So this voyage is a little rough. It was, you know what? I looking for my Johnson. I find it was under my gut. There is my Johnson. I tossed to my Johnson. Everybody toasts the captain's dick, right? And everybody's laughing. We're having a great time. It's good. Everything's good. And all of a sudden it gets really quiet. And I look in the back of the showroom and there's the captain standing there. And he's saying stuff. He's like, who writes your jokes? And I'm like, who's steering the fucking ship, right? And people are like, ah! And he's like, maybe I do your job, I'm gonna do it better. I'm like, maybe if I did your job, people wouldn't fall off the ship, right? People was like, oh, the lights came on, the mic cuts off. And I learned something very important, though. I may never be comfortable on boats, but I love helicopters.